Today we're going to take the first of three looks at Psalm 31. It's one of those psalms that I describe as sometimes passing under the radar. One of those psalms that you can read in your consecutive reading of the psalms and may read several times, and yet unless you spend a little bit of time in it, it doesn't seem to register, or at least that's my personal experience. And I've enjoyed and been blessed by just spending a little bit of extra time in it just recently. It's an interesting psalm too because it's used elsewhere in Scripture. Jeremiah alludes or quotes from this psalm some 6 times in Jeremiah and in Lamentations. Jonah quotes from this psalm as he prays in the belly of the great fish. And perhaps most importantly, Jesus quotes from this psalm as he hangs on the cross. Verse 5 of this psalm says, "Into your hand I commit my spirit." A prophetic statement fulfilled in the experience of Jesus himself. It's not an easy psalm to divide up for numerous reasons, but I've done it into 3 sections. So verses 1 to 5 I describe as the prayer, verses 6 to 18 the plight, and verses 19 to 24 the praise. And that seems a fairly good structure for a psalm and also for our own experience of communing with God. But let's look at the prayer today in verses 1 to 5. And some of this is not new to us as we've already worked our way through so many of the Psalms. David is speaking with great confidence about his God and praying to him on the basis of that confidence. So he describes God as his refuge, as his rock of refuge, as his fortress, and as his rock. But what I find interesting in the way he speaks about it here is that he prays 2 things which seem to be contradictory and conflicting, but actually are not. So in verse 2 he says, "Be a rock of refuge for me." And in verse 3 he says, "For you are my rock and my fortress." Now that's not because David has suddenly had an answer to his prayer. Verse 2 has been answered even before he's got to verse 3. I think what David is doing is he's reflecting in our own experience. There are times we know in our head when something's true, but we don't actually know it in our hearts. Or we know it in theory, but we don't really know it in practice. So I think what David is praying here is, "Be to me what I know you are." Show yourself, demonstrate that attribute and that quality that I know you possess and that reflects your real nature. Indeed, Charles Spurgeon says of this particular verse, it's a prayer that we might enjoy in experience what we grasp by faith. "O Lord, you are this, so be it to me. Be to me what I know you are." And based on that confidence and that prayer, notice that reference that Jesus quotes from the cross. "Into your hand I commit my spirit." Now, David isn't necessarily praying here in his own experience because he feels he's on the point of death, though that is the normal way that Christians have used this prayer because of Jesus' own example, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly natural and good and proper that a Christian who's dying, their last words, their last very breath and sentiment might be, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." What a great statement of confidence and assurance. For Martin Luther wrote these words, "Blessed are they who die not only for the Lord as martyrs, not only in the Lord as all believers, but with the Lord as breathing forth their lives in these words, 'Into your hands I commit my spirit.'" But of course we can take that same prayer and in any situation, in every situation, even as David opens up in the next verses in this psalm, we can utterly and completely and confidently entrust our souls, our well-being, our real existence to the Lord himself, because he is our rock, he is our fortress, he is our refuge. So we can say to him, "Into your hands, whatever befalls me, whatever happens to me, whatever I encounter during this day, into your hands I commit my spirit." I sometimes pray that prayer at the beginning of a day. I often pray that prayer as I close my eyes at night. "Into your hands. I don't know what the next hours will hold for me, but you do. And come what may, into your hands I commit my spirit. And into his hands I commit you." And the Lord bless you.